She adopted this black girl 27 years ago. Here's how she repaid her years later. Famous dancer Michaela DePrince has appeared in music videos for Madonna and Beyoncé and has danced at the Boston Ballet. She achieved recognition through her own perseverance and the help of her adoptive parents, two genuinely kind people who had unwavering faith in her. Although she had a joyful ending, her narrative had an unexpected beginning. We hope you enjoy hearing this fascinating account of Michaela's life today, and that it will encourage you as you travel your own route to success. Before being adopted, Michaela's life was anything but unicorns and rainbows. In 1995, Michaela was born in Sierra Leone. Mabinti was her given name by her parents, but after they both passed away, her uncle placed her in an orphanage where she was treated like a number. The young girl took comfort in her best pal. She was the 26th child in the orphanage and went by the name Mabinti. The two girls enjoyed singing, pretend play, and exchanging tales about what life might be like if they were adopted. Elaine DePrince, a resident of New Jersey, had been fantasizing of adopting a kid from Africa. She intended to adopt Mabinti, a friend of Michaela's. However, there was some uncertainty prior to her departure for the adoption trip, which ultimately determined Michaela's fate. Elaine, the adoptive mother, recalls, "I got a call from the adoption agency. In an interview, 'Which Mabinti are you adopting?' they inquired. 'There are two of them.' Elaine later learned that 12 families had turned down the other Mabinti because of her skin issue. She decided immediately after learning this information to adopt both the girls. Because Elaine had doubts about her own adoption, it's likely that she'll never forget her initial encounter with Michaela. Elaine recounted, "She was standing there with her arms folded, obviously upset. She simply believed there would be more rejection in front of her, I believe." Michaela remembers being utterly enthralled with a photograph of a dancer she discovered in a newspaper back when she was still living in the orphanage. She'd been pursuing her passion of becoming a professional dancer from this time and had cherished it throughout her early youth. When she got to her adoptive parents' house, she showed her mother Elaine this picture and told her that she wished she could wear point shoes like a real ballerina. Elaine was so moved and amazed that she was unable to do much more than promise Michaela that she would dance one day. Even though Michaela's life in the U.S. was beginning to change for the better, she initially still feared rejection and even slept with the light on. But her parents' love and support helped to mend her broken heart, and she soon felt at peace and began working towards her ambitious goal. Michaela began to put a lot of effort into realizing her sacred goal with her new life, and it paid off handsomely. Michaela started enjoying her dancing classes after settling into her new life, and she eventually set her sights on becoming a professional ballerina. She understood there would be difficulties to overcome. She was particularly worried about her vitiligo. She asked her mother before her very first performance if she could see the spots on her body from her seat in the crowd. "I responded, 'No, not really,'" Elaine recounted. "They appeared to be fairy dust." She then responds, "Oh good, now I can pursue a career as a ballerina." She recalled her time in the orphanage in an interview saying, "They named us from 1 to 27. The orphanage's favorite child was 1, while the least favorite was 27. Given that she suffers from the uncommon skin disorder vitiligo, Michaela was number 27. She was referred to the orphanage as the Devil's Child because of her differences. The first to admit that her life isn't a fairy tale is Michaela DePrince. However, it may appear that way. Her narrative is one of tenacity, commitment, and survival. She claims, "The only way I could survive was to show everyone incorrect." She was given the name Mabinti Bangura when she was born in 1995. The horrible civil war that was raging in the African nation of Sierra Leone was present when little Mabinti was born. The rebels killed her father. In the bed that she and Mabinti shared, her mother passed away from disease and famine. She claims, "I don't recall what my biological parents looked like. I struggle to recall any joyful events." Mabinti was left to an orphanage when she was 3 years old after losing her parents. She was also dubbed the Devil's Child by the woman in charge of the orphanage due to vitiligo, a skin pigmentation disorder. They thought her dark skin's white patches were a curse or an evil omen. DePrince recalls, "They continued asking why anyone would want to adopt the Devil's Child. So they ranked us, like the favorite child was number 1 and least favorite was number 27. 27 was my number. She was therefore the last youngster to receive both clothing and dinner. She received rags." Number 26, who is also named Mabinti, was the sole buddy she had at the orphanage. Simply because she was left-handed and peed the bed, she was low down on the food chain. They supported and comforted one another while keeping the others safe. When Mabinti, number 27, had trouble falling asleep at night, number 26 would sing songs. Number 26 says, "She was responsible for practically everything in the orphanage. Therefore, we decided that we would both bear responsibility for it rather than letting her be timed out on her own." A miserable existence it was. However, Mabinti 27 uncovered a discovery that would alter her course of events one day. She discovered an old magazine that had been blown up against the fence of the orphanage by a burst of wind. It was a magazine named Dance Magazine, with a picture of a white ballerina standing on her toes and a pink tutu on the front cover. Mabinti had never witnessed anything comparable. "It wasn't simply because she's a ballerina either. It's that she seems content. And I wanted to be joyful," adds the prince. "I wanted to do whatever she was doing if it made her happy. Because my underpants was the only place that was safe, I removed the cover." A cherished teacher who she showed the magazine to informed her that the woman was performing was called ballet, and that she was a ballerina. Mabinti Bangura had dreams for the first time in her life. She initially had to endure some dreams, though. A bunch of rebels attacked her favorite instructor outside the orphanage. The instructor was expecting. Mabinti hurried outside to try to stop the horror, but she was unsuccessful. They cut up her stomach to see whether it was a boy or a girl because they made a bet. So they made the decision to learn more, the prince explains. Mabinti was then attacked by a rebel boy who used a machete to slash her stomach. She was only saved because the orphanage's night watchman begged for her life. The prince recalls through sobs, "When I got stabbed, I was really hoping. I felt really alone. I wanted to pass away badly. It didn't make sense to me. I never thought I would experience anything positive in my life. I find it quite terrible that a 3-year-old child already deserves death. The dancer on the front of the magazine did, however, not guarantee that my hopes would come true." She soon found out that Americans were traveling to adopt the orphans. One of the fortunate ones was her best friend, number 26, who was picked by a family that donated a book of images. However, nobody arrived for number 27. Not initially, at least. Elaine DePrince and her husband Charles had sent that photo book to number 26 from their home in New Jersey, thousands of miles away. 3 American sons had already been adopted by Elaine and her husband Charles. Tragically, contaminated blood caused AIDS and they would all pass away. Elaine was devastated by the first 2 deaths, but she wasn't going to let that keep her from loving and living. One of the deceased sons had advised them to adopt from an African nation that was experiencing a civil strife. Elaine DePrince adds, "And then I got a call from the adoption agency. 'Which Mabinti are you adopting?' they inquired of her. 'They number 2 among us.' 12 families had declined to take the other Mabinti, number 27, because of her vitiligo. Elaine was informed. Elaine responded right away. 'We'll take her,' I said. 'After coping with AIDS, I truly don't have an issue with spots.'" Elaine revealed the unexpectedly excellent news to number 27 when she traveled to Africa to adopt both 4-year-olds. She was enraged and standing there with her arms crossed. She probably just assumed that there would be more rejection waiting for her, Elaine speculates. Then, Michaela recounts, she takes our hands and declares, "I'm your new mama." Elaine renamed both girls after her son Michael, the one who had been persuaded them to adopt in Africa, because she felt it would be difficult to have 2 Mabintis, Mia Mabinti DePrince, number 26, and Michaela Mabinti DePrince, number 27, respectively. Michaela was one of the first to show her new mother the priceless magazine cover. "I couldn't believe I had adopted a point shoe-loving African orphan," Elaine chuckles. "I had to assure her that she would dance." Elaine fulfilled her commitment. She enrolled Michaela and Mia in ballet classes. Michaela began training it seriously right away. She was devoted to being a professional ballerina, even at that young age. But first, she had to overcome her self-consciousness about her appearance. "I recall my very first performance. I was afraid because I reasoned that if people could see my spots, I would be prevented from becoming the ballerina I desired to be." She begged Elaine to let her know if anyone in the audience could see her spots. Elaine claimed that the vitiligo was difficult to discern and merely resembled fairy dust. How did Michaela react? "Oh well, I can now pursue a career as a ballerina." Although Michaela learned to accept her skin issue, her skin tone presented her with other challenges. Shocking things were spoken to her by others. The teacher told me, we don't put a lot of effort into the black ballerinas because they all end up getting overweight and having large boobs. When I was 8 years old, says DePrince. She persisted nonetheless, and it worked. By the age of 17, Michaela DePrince was touring the country with the Dance Theater of Harlem. She was the company's youngest employee. The famed Dutch National Ballet in Amsterdam engaged her the year after. She was able to support herself and pursue her implausible dream at the age of 18. Michaela was not only hired by ballet director Ted Branson, but she was just elevated to soloist status. He claims that Michaela's desire to succeed is her greatest strength. She is only one level younger than the company's elite ballerinas at the age of 22. She also experienced a brief moment of superstardom last year. Michaela was specifically chosen by Beyoncé to create her own dance solo for the Lemonade song, Freedom. I thought that was Michaela, her sister Mia explains. She's seated somewhere near to Beyoncé, but it's not a big problem. You realize it's not a huge deal. She laughs and says, no, it wasn't at all. Michaela is the new face of Jockey's Show 'em What's Underneath campaign, which is another indication of how far she's gone. According to Elaine DePrince, she wants Michaela's birth mother to know how far she's come in life. She noticed her kid being looked down on. This youngster has overcome that. It's not a fairy tale. You must put forth a lot of effort, adds Michaela DePrince. There's a great deal of loss and pain. But what about acting? I adore it.